Hi, I'm Gina and welcome back to my studio. In today's video I'm going to be continuing on with the exterior of the build for the library and the apothecary, and I'm going to be creating the external staircase as well as the external door. So I really hope that you enjoy this one. Yeah, let's get started. So to begin this project, I first started with drawing out the angles of the staircase. As you can see here, I've tried a couple of options. I wanted the staircase to have 3 parts of it to get to the roof. I also made a test piece of the stair tread, which I'm pretty happy with, so I'm actually going to go with this design. It's basically made up of matchsticks, and I picked up this bag from the craft store a while ago, and it's lasted quite a while. So I needed to make about 14 stair treads, and basically less the one that I've already created. So I first started to cut all of the lengths to size. For the actual tread of the stairs, I'm using this plastic grid type material. It's actually used for cross stitch, and it was very easy to cut with a pair of scissors. Okay, so once I had all my pieces cut out, it was now time to assemble them. I created this simple gluing jig to keep everything as square as possible, using a magnetic sheet, a metal ruler and a 1, 2, 3 block, and it worked perfectly. To add even more structure to the treads, I'm going to use some coffee stirrers. These ones I found are really long and thin. They're about 5 mm wide, and I found that these were perfect for this project, and I actually end up by using them quite a lot through this build. And again, I'm using the gluing jig to glue the pieces around the outside of each of the treads. So I'm using some more of those stir sticks to create the sides of the staircase and then gluing each tread into place. This also creates the riser of the stairs, although it's not actually a real riser because there's no physical rise to the steps, but there is the distance between them. So this actually helps separate the stairs out to create that look. For the platforms, I followed exactly the same process as I did for each of the treads and just made them twice as width as the staircase, and then I can just glue those staircases into place. Moving on to the handrail, I'm actually just going to be using some bamboo skewers, and I'm just going to glue those into place, and using the tread and the riser of the tread to actually glue those into place. And then I'm also going to use another coffee stir stick to create the handrail. Hi guys, I just thought I'd touch base with you and just sort of let you know where I'm at with this project. I had to just stop last night because it was getting to that ugly stage, which I call the ugly stage, but it's a stage that I kind of get to and think this isn't going to work to what I had imagined in my mind, and it's a stage that I know that I just need to get past, but sometimes it's a challenge. It can be a real challenge to kind of get over that, because as it's starting to come together and as the project's starting to come together, it's not necessarily turning out how I originally thought in my mind. This is where I've got to on the project, and I put the handrail up last night. I'm not too sure if I'm happy with it. It's better than when the first go that I did, but I'm just not sure. So yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of got to get past this stage in order to get to the final result. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to push through it. I'm not too sure if I'm going to use it on the project just yet, because I'm just in that mindset of I just don't think this is going to come together. That's really where my head is at the moment. So fingers crossed. Let's keep going. So creating the handrail was pretty simple, using the stir sticks and bamboo skewers again. And once everything was glued into place, I'm going to let it dry before moving on to my favourite part, which is painting. And to start the painting, I first covered everything with a grey primer. And this just helps the paint stick to every surface, including the plastic. So the colour scheme for this is all of the stir sticks are wood, which you can see I'm painting here, and all of the bamboo skewers and the plastic grid is going to be metal. And I'm going to start with the wood with a base coat of burnt umber, and the base coat of the metal is going to be black. I'm dry brushing this light tan colour over all of the wood pieces to add some highlights and a bit of wood grain, or maybe a little bit of faux wood grain. And then for the black pieces, which are basically going to be the metal pieces, I'm going to go over the black with a silver, and I'm going to use a dry brush for that as well, because I do want a bit of that black to show through. One thing I added in a little bit later was this top piece to the handrail, and you can see here that I've actually painted it in black, and now I'm just highlighting that with the silver. But basically this is just another bamboo skewer that is glued on top of the stir stick. And now to add some weathering, I'm going to use this orange paint, and I'm just going to dab it into areas where rust may be forming. This is a metal staircase and it's been outside for a really long time. And then I'm just going to go back in and overlay some of this with some orange pigment powder. And this adds a more dusty rust effect, which layers up really nicely with the paint. So with the stairs being done, I wanted to create something for them to sit on. So instead of sitting on a tabletop, because these are going to attach to the outside of the building, I'm using a piece of 3mm MDF, and I first painted that in black before putting down a layer of Mod Podge, and then sprinkling over a mix of dirt and tile grout, which is the same mix that I've used on the roof. And then once I've dusted all of the excess off, I'm going to use a new technique that I have just learnt, which is using isopropyl alcohol. So I'm just using a dropper thing to add it on there, because I don't actually have a spray bottle, which would be way easier. But this actually helps break the surface tension of the glue mix. So the glue mix is just water and sort of PVA glue, and it means that it gets into all of the project instead of just sitting on the top. And then I'm just going to add some greenery details just with a mix that I've got here of different textures and also different colours. Moving on to creating the exterior door, I'm using the mat board cutout that from the interior part of it that I put aside and saved, and some more stir sticks. I told you I was going to be using quite a few of these in this project. So I'm just going to cut the stir sticks to length, and then I'm going to add them to both sides of the mat board to start to build out the door. I cut out this top section of the door, as this is where I'm going to add in a glass panel, which is actually going to be made of plastic, and then using even more stir sticks to create some additional detail for the door. For the bottom panel of the door, I wanted to match the details from the interior, and so using some more mat board, and I had some leftover cardstock circles, and I used these to create the corner pieces of the interior detail. And so I've just cut these to size, and then I'm just going to cut these circles or corners down before gluing them into place. And then to finish off this panel on the bottom of the door, I've just cut strips of cardstock and then just gluing those around the edge of that mat board. So after giving the door a coat of paint, it's time to move on to finishing the top part of the door. I've cut down and painted some strips of mat board, and using these initially to glue to the window and then gluing this into the door, I continue on cutting these pieces to size and then gluing them into place. To finish everything off, I'm just going to do a dry brush of white over both sides of the door, and this just helps to highlight some of those details that I've worked so hard to put together, and it really starts to bring it to life. So adding in some final touches and attaching the staircase, which I've made to be removable for ease of transportation, because this is the project that's going to go into the show. And I also wanted to add in some vines and foliage to the staircase and the building. For the vines, I've used the same process as I used when creating the dried hanging plants. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description below. And I simply wrap those around the stairs and then glue them to the outside of the building. So there you go, it's all finished, and I'm really glad that I stuck with the staircase. It's actually turned out a lot better than what I had originally thought, or that wobble moment very much halfway through the build. And not quite what I expected in my head, but I'm really happy with it, and I'm really stoked with how it has actually brought the whole project together and gave it a little bit more character and a little bit more of a story along with it as well, which is fantastic. So that's basically it now, completed for this particular build. I've got a couple of little teeny weeny projects to do and to get it ready for the show that's coming up. So I'm putting it into a Dollhouse Club show here in New Zealand, And if you're interested, drop me a message in the chat below and I can give you some details about where to find it. So yeah, if you like this video, consider hitting that thumbs up button, the like button. It really does help get my channel out there, or get the videos out there to a wider audience. I really appreciate that help. So subscribe to the channel and come along on this journey with me. It certainly is a lot of learning along the way, and I'm happy to share those experiences with you. So let's have a look at the final result, and I will see you in the next one.